News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. On the Mark is powered by Cunis Country Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area at 221 North 36th Street, Quincy. Faith, family, and giving back. That's Cunis Country. And now, here's Mark Hespin.
Good morning, Tri-States, and wherever you may be listening on the News Talk 1070 KHMO app. This is On the Mark. I am Mark Hespin. Brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. You got to ask about that lifetime no-fear warranty on the over 3,000 new and used vehicles to choose from. Tell them Mark sent you. All right, welcome on in to this December 2nd edition of On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO. Whether you may be joining us on the app or on the airwaves, you can always follow the show on Facebook. Just search On the Mark KHMO on Facebook. Also, you can follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Mark Hespin, MarkHespen. Follow the show on YouTube as well. Just search Mark Hespin on YouTube, MarkHespen. We got a jam-packed show for today. We'll do a full breakdown of Week 13 in the NFL. Huge games in the college football world today. Michigan, Iowa, Alabama, Georgia. We'll get into all of that later on in the show. But we have to start Hespin headline number one with the Dallas Cowboys 41-35 win over the Seahawks. Are the Cowboys finally for real?
Hespin's headlines On the Mark.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Dallas Cowboys 41-35. Looking at the box score this morning, Dak Prescott 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 29 of 41. 299 yards. Tony Pollard carried the ball 20 times, 68 yards, a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, Brandon Cooks. This team's got weapons, man. They are loaded. Micah Parsons on defense. But they did give up 35 points at home to Geno Smith, who was terrific. 23 of 41 for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, an interception. Charbonnet ran the ball just as effective as Tony Pollard. DK Metcalf went off, embarrassed the Dallas secondary. Jackson Smith and Jigba should have had a touchdown, but he had it taken away from him because of a bogus bummer of a penalty. I mean, of a replay, and then eventually did lead to a touchdown. So Seattle wasn't totally screwed out of points. But here's why I still don't yet believe in the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys are on a nice 4-game win streak, right? A 4-game win streak over the Giants, Washington, Seattle, after losing to Philadelphia. Dallas has 5 games remaining. At this point in time, I truly believe Dallas, even though they're 9-3, will still be a 10-win team. If Dallas can become an 11 or 12-win team with this schedule, if they can win 3 of these next 5, which includes home against the Eagles, at the Bills, at Miami, home against the Lions. If they go 2-2 in that stretch, if they go 3-1 in that stretch, God forbid they go 4-0 in that stretch, well, then the Dallas Cowboys will absolutely have earned the right to be considered a Super Bowl favorite. Not just a contender, a favorite. The Dallas Cowboys can go 3-1 or 4-0 in that stretch home against the Eagles, at Bills, at Miami, home against the Lions, then they will absolutely, in my opinion, become a Super Bowl favorite. Absolutely. But until that happens, I still feel this way about the Cowboys. They feel like, to me, like they will, they will win a playoff game on the road, maybe, and then fizzle on out in the divisional round, and we won't hear from them again. They haven't beaten quality teams yet this year. They have 4 really quality teams coming up in the next 4 weeks. Let's all just take a moment and say, we'll reassess Dallas in 4 weeks from now. I believe Dallas will be 9-7 in 4 weeks from now. End the season with a win at Washington, get to 10-7, and be a very solid wild card team. They have a chance to prove me wrong. Can they do it? We'll see. We'll wait and see the Dallas Cowboys. Meanwhile, for Seattle, listen, 6-6, 3-game losing streak. It's not great in Seattle right now. They're probably going to fall to 6-8 on a 5-game losing streak. They're at the Niners and home against the Eagles the next 2 games. But this is a team that absolutely could end above 500, 9-8, at the Titans, home against Pittsburgh, at Arizona to wrap up the schedule. That should absolutely be a 3-0 stretch for Seattle. Can they find a way to steal a game against their rival Niners next week? Or at, home against Philadelphia on Monday Night Football? They absolutely could. This could still be a 10-win team. But the margin is a little shorter. But in the NFC, as long as they win against the Titans, the Steelers, and Arizona, which they should, Seattle should absolutely still be a playoff team. Dallas and Seattle, that was a great football game last night. Or Thursday night, 2 nights ago. But realistically, those are 2 wild card teams playing against each other in the NFC, and neither team will be playing in the NFC Championship game. That's reserved for, in my opinion, the big boys of the NFC, Philadelphia, the Detroit Lions, and the San Francisco 49ers. 2 of those 3 teams will be playing in the NFC Championship game. I still feel that way after Thursday Night Football. All right, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll break down Week 13 in the NFL. We're live and local on News Talk 1070 KHMO. It's On the Mark.
What is lost when a home is denied? When equality is cast aside just because the family doesn't look like you or cook like you? Or because they identify as LGBTQ? Maybe it's because of how they talk or how they walk? Make you struggle to find a lender because of your gender? It's not fair. It's not their place to reject you because of your race or the obstacles you face. Housing discrimination has no place in our nation.
Equal access and equal opportunity are core American values. Where you live can change your life. Don't let housing discrimination stop you. If you believe you've been denied a home because of your race, color, religion, national origin, familial status, disability, or sex, including gender identity and sexual orientation, go to HUD.gov/fair housing. That's HUD.gov/fair housing. Everyone has a right to fair housing.
1070 KHMO.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai. They are the buying center of the Tri-States. Listen, if you're selling your vehicle, then you got to sell it to Cunis Honda Hyundai. Get off Facebook Marketplace. Stop putting up with creepy dudes messaging you at all hours of the morning saying, hey, can I buy your vehicle? No one wants that. No one wants that. Cunis Honda Hyundai can solve that problem for you. They got Kelly Blue Book evaluations paying top dollar for your ride. You don't have to buy from Cunis to sell to Cunis, even though once you get there, you're going to want to buy from Cunis. Stop in 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Tell them Mark sent you. Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. Once again, you can follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Mark Hespin. You can follow the show On the Mark KHMO on Facebook. Follow the YouTube channel as well. Just subscribe at Mark Hespin on YouTube. All right, let's get into it. Hespin headline number 2. We got to break down Week 13 in the National Football League.
Hespin's headlines On the Mark.
All right, I will give you my lock and my upset of the week. Reminder, 2-0 last week with my lock and my upset. I have battled back, ladies and gentlemen. I am to 11-12-1 on the season. A game below 500. A game below 500. I feel strong about my picks this week to get above 500 for the first time on the season. It's a long season. If you stuck with me, we're going to be in the green. I promise you. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. Let's start with it. Looking ahead at this week's games, we'll start with the Sunday slate, the noon slate. Chargers at the Patriots. Chargers favored by 5.5. Listen, I don't trust either of these teams right now. The Chargers on the road being favorites to anyone is basically just because they have Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert, and the Patriots have no one. I mean, they have no one. I believe the Patriots have fully entered tank mode now. I can't see them after losing to the Giants, then coming out and putting on a let's get together effort and beat the Chargers. Chargers are desperate. Chargers actually have motivation to win. It feels like they're fighting for something. They're fighting for Justin Herbert's fighting for his own relevancy as a top 5-6 quarterback in the NFL. Obviously, Brandon Staley's fighting for his job. The Patriots, meanwhile, feel very content saying we can go and be a 2-win team and start to look ahead to what we can do for the future of this franchise in the draft. I'll take the Chargers on the road. They have the more talented quarterback. They have the more talented offense. They have the more talented defense, I believe, as well, even though they don't play like it at times. Chargers are playing for something. The Patriots are playing to lose. If the Patriots would have won last week, I would have felt better about the Patriots, putting up a fight here. But you lose to Tommy DeVito. Not a lot of coming back from losing to Tommy DeVito. I'll take the Chargers to win. Something along the lines is a very ugly 24-13 gross game. Cardinals at the Steelers. Listen, this is a Steelers team that if you look at the head of the rest of their schedule, they have their future in front of them, man. They can go on a deep run. This could be a 10-11 win team. And if they want to get to that point, it starts here with a win against the Cardinals. The Steelers are 7-4. They played well last week. Kenny Pickett led them to over 400 yards of offense for the first time in 4 years, something like that. Is a crazy, crazy stat of how long it's taken them to get to this point. The Cardinals, meanwhile, what I'll give them credit to is the Cardinals have still been fighting. They've been feisty. Kyler Murray, since he's been back. I think the Cardinals and the line here are the play. Cardinals are plus 5.5. I think this game comes down to the wire, but I think Kenny Pickett wins it for the Steelers. Steelers defense will find a way to score in this game. Kyler Murray will make some plays. I think it's a fairly low-scoring, tight game. Kenny Pickett wins it for the Steelers late 20-17. Cardinals are alive. They're fighting in this. I don't think the Steelers cover, but the Steelers definitely get a win. Again, the Cardinals not playing for much. It's about playing for Kyler Murray and Kyler Murray playing for a lot. I'll take the Steelers in a win. Steelers improved to 8-4 in the year. Maybe one of the lowest ceiling 8-4 teams that we have in the NFL. But the Steelers will find a way to stick involved with the division and certainly with the high seeds in the wild card with a win at home against Arizona. If this game was in Arizona, I think the Cardinals would be like a sneaky upset team. But in Pittsburgh, that defense, not great weather, kind of sloppy, chilly weather. I like the Steelers at home. Colts at the Titans, becoming one of the most interesting games of the weekend, mainly because the Colts at 6-5, they're a wild card team right now if the playoffs were to start. Who would have predicted that coming, especially post the Anthony Richardson injury? I actually like the Titans in this game. This is one of those games. Will Levis played well. He's been playing well. They really found Derrick Henry last week, and they got the ground game going. Outdoors, Indy on the road at Tennessee. Tennessee are getting a point. I like the Titans to surprise and win this game and kind of damper a little bit of the Colts' kind of surprise season. The Colts, I just don't think they're making the playoffs. And I think one of the reasons not making the playoffs is that they slip up against a division rival in a game like this. I like Mike Vrabel as the coach. Tennessee is very similar right now to the Minnesotas of the league, where their ceilings are incredibly low. They're not going to accomplish anything this year, kind of like the Packers, but they're really, as an organization, kind of fighting for that pride of our coach isn't going anywhere. We may have our quarterback of the future with Tennessee and Green Bay, so we're just trying to build those culture-type wins. I think this is a culture-type win for Tennessee. They're going to keep Derrick Henry going, find that ground attack against the Colts. They're going to force Gardner Minshew to make a bad play outdoors on the road. And I think Will Levis plays well. Give me the Titans in an upset victory. 23-20, close game. They take care of the Colts. What may be the game of the noon hour, Broncos at the Texans. The Texans are getting healthy. They are at home. I like the Texans in this game. I like them to win, I think, fairly easily. The Broncos are the hottest team in football. They're going to come back to the mean here a little bit. Broncos have won 5 in a row. I think this is the perfect Broncos kind of get, put back in their place type of game against a Texans team that has surprised everyone this year. The Texans at home, 3.5. C.J. Stroud is playing really elite football. Even in games where he has struggled recently, they found ways to win. I think they bounced back after that Jacksonville loss. They are getting healthy. Laramie Tunsil should be playing in this game. The Broncos have been able to capitalize on teams that have been weak offensively recently. The Texans are anything but that. The Broncos defense is playing well, but I think it's a lot of who they've been playing as of late. I think it's a close game. I think it's a tight game. I think both teams know the importance of this game, both at 6-5, both kind of wanting to shock the world, the football world, by making it into the playoffs and getting one of those coveted AFC wildcard spots. Right now, I just like everything the Texans are doing better than I like what the Broncos are doing. Russell Wilson, I think, kind of comes crashing back down to earth, trying to go score for score with C.J. Stroud. I think it's not the way to go about this game. The Broncos, if they want to win it, need to commit to the run, keep C.J. Stroud off the field. I don't think they can do that. I'll take the Texans at home 30-21 in a pretty easy win over the Broncos. Texans move to 7-5 and are in the driver's seat for a wild card playoff spot. Lions at the Saints, maybe the biggest game, not the most fun, like Broncos-Texans, or maybe most important, but maybe the biggest game is just as far as both of these teams really needing a victory. Lions 8-3, coming off of a near loss to the Bears where they did not look good, and then a kind of shocking Thanksgiving Day loss for the Lions at home versus the Packers. Lions coming off of extra rest on the road against the Saints. I love the Lions in this game. The line is 4.5. This is a Lions defense that is been giving up plays recently, but this is a Saints offense that just has no continuity, no identity, and shoots themselves in the foot. At this point in time, I don't think they trust Derek Carr very much. Their wide receivers are just getting known more for what they're doing off the field versus on the field for Olave and Michael Thomas. I think the Lions are going to come out motivated. Dan Campbell's going to have his team ready to play with some extra rest, kind of resetting, saying, hey, this is the final push of the season. All of our goals are still ahead of us. I think the Lions get back track and show why they could absolutely be playing in an NFC championship game this year. I think the Lions go down to New Orleans and handle the Saints pretty easily. I think the Saints maybe get a score late to make the game look closer than it was. I'll take the Lions 33-24 in an easy win in New Orleans. I think they dominate this game from the start with the offensive line. I think they run the ball well. I think Jared Goff kind of shakes off the turnovers, gets right with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta. And the Lions, after the much-needed break and rest, shake off that Packers win. And the Saints will be sitting there at 5-7 going, we might need to blow this thing up and start all over, which I think all of us realize it's probably what the Saints should do. Jets, 4-7 at home against the 5-6 Atlanta Falcons. This is a game that I have no idea what's going to happen. I'll be absolutely honest with you. I have no real feel for this game. My gut tells me this is the Jets' kind of last stand moment, that they want Aaron Rodgers back. Aaron Rodgers has entered this 21-day window where he could come back and actually play for this Jets team this year. And I think at home, inclement weather, this Jets defense is going to ball out versus Desmond Ridder and this very, very up and down Atlanta Falcons offense. I mean, Bijan Robinson, he had a breakout game last week, but the Jets absolutely have the best unit in this game with their defense. I think my gut tells me it's an ugly game. My gut tells me it's a low-scoring game, and that means my brain says, okay, if my gut's telling me that, well, then logically it should favor the Jets. Low-scoring, ugly, there at home. I'm going to take the Jets in a surprise upset win. Tim Boyle doesn't turn the ball over. Breece Hall may not play. I actually think that could be a good thing for the Jets in the sense that it'll solidify more of their passing offense. It'll open up things for Garrett Wilson in the sense that he's the number one guy. Feed him the rock. Let him go to work against this weak secondary for Atlanta. And then pin your ears back if you're the Jets defense. Attack Desmond Ridder. It's ugly. It's low scoring. Jets win 17-13 at home against the Falcons. I think they get a defensive score in there, like a pick six or something like that, in a last stand for the New York Jets, making that Aaron Rodgers story even more of a reality coming down the stretch, that the Jets find a way to get to 5-7. Falcons fall to 5-7. I think part of me wants the Jets to win, I'll be honest. Not because I'm rooting for the Jets or I'm anti-Falcons, in just the sense that the chaos that is the NFC South, as soon as you think, all right, the Falcons are going to take control of this division, they beat the Saints last week, yeah, they fall flat in their face, they lose the Jets. There's something in the NFL gods and the world of the way this thing works that just feels like that's how the NFC South is going. You know what I mean? Like, big win against the Saints. All right, they fall flat in their face. They lose to the Jets on the road. Dolphins at the Commanders. Miami favored by 9.5. I don't think they cover the 9.5. I'll be honest about this game. I think Sam Howell, again, extra rest. They fired Jack Del Rio. I think they get a fired coach bump on the defense, which means I think they play a little bit of like hair on fire defense, kind of last stand. Miami will score, and Miami will put up points, but Sam Howell can move the football. Sam Howell is the top 5 in like almost every passing category this year. And I think with the injury to the linebacking core of Miami, I can't think of the kid's name right now off the top of my head, I think that impacts this game as well. I think the Commanders can score enough to cover the 9.5 at home. Miami wins. They win, though, 27-20 in a game that's not that close. Miami's in control, but the Commanders hang around, maybe get an unlikely turnover late to score a touchdown to make the game seem closer and cover. But I like the Commanders in this game to cover, but the Dolphins to win. Still have not officially given you my lock or my upset of the week, though. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mark Hespin. Follow the show on the Mark KHMO on Facebook. All right, that is the noon slate of games. So let's move on to that 3 o'clock window here. And we got some interesting matchups to talk about. One of them will start with the Panthers 1-10 at the 4-7 Buccaneers. If there was ever a week for the Panthers to get their second win of the year, it is this week in Tampa against a Bucs team that the wheels have kind of fallen off, and the Panthers are getting that interim coach bump. And I'm going to ride with it. I think the Panthers steal a victory against the Buccaneers on the road. I think Tabor, interim coach bump. They simplify the offense. I think they run the ball a ton. I think that they are able to make a play on defense against Baker Mayfield and this Buccaneers offense. I think they go in there and they punch Tampa in the mouth early of guys to play. Everyone, fighting for the interim coach. Do you put pride on the line? I think the Panthers win 20-17. Last minute field goal upset. Bryce Young gets a victory. He got the vote of confidence from his owner. We're all on the same page. I think there's an interim coach bump. Do it for the interim coach, Tabor. Panthers win and probably get their last win of the season to get that second win. But it'll cause some chaos with the draft order. As a Bears fan, I don't want the Panthers to win. But I'm trying to look at this realistically. Every year, you get these surprise games, these weird games. And this is one of those, it seems easy. Panthers think Bucs are good. But the interim coach bump, everyone is just poo-pooing on Bryce Young. I think they just come out and they simplify the office. Frank Reich's voice has been out of the meeting rooms. I think they just come on out, hair on fire, run the ball. They give it to Miles Sanders. And against a vulnerable Buccaneers team, they find a way to steal a victory. I'm putting myself on a limb. I'm going for it. I'll take the Panthers. All right. Before we get to, I think, the game of the week, we'll get to Browns-Rams first. I like the Rams in this game. They're favored by 3.5. They're at home. The rumor is Joe Flacco could start for this Browns team. I think this game will be close. I actually think Cleveland's going to cover. I'll take the Rams to win on like a last-second Matt Stafford drive field goal, 23-20. I think that the Rams find a way to score against the Browns defense, but I think it's mainly because the Browns defense is going to be put in some bad spots by the Browns offense, right? I think the Rams defense, while young, is improving. They'll find a way to create a turnover when they need it. They'll get some good short field against the Browns defense, and I think that Joe Flacco, having not started a game in over a year now, being out of the league, coming in and starting, it's going to look a little messy. It's going to look a little sloppy, and I like the Rams to win, even if it's not Joe Flacco and they go with PJ Walker. I still think that's pro Rams. The Rams are playing for a lot here now to get back to 500, to be relevant in the NFC playoff picture. The Browns are playing for nothing. I think there's been some injuries on that defense here now, and the defense can't just keep carrying the wins. I'll take the Rams. All right, let's get to it. And what will I will call my upset of the week, and I'll tell you it right now. The Eagles are plus money. I'm getting the Eagles plus 3 at home against the Niners. I don't like it. I love it. I love it. The Eagles are the best team in football. They are at home, and they are underdogs to the Niners. You don't think Nick Sirianni is telling them all week that stat? That's all he needs to say. You're at 10-1, the only one-loss team in the league, best record in football. You just beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. You just beat the Bills at home in overtime. And you are 3-point underdogs at home to a team we beat in the NFC Championship game last year. Oh, I think this Eagles team is going to come out hungry. You know those dog masks the Eagles had? They're going to pull them out. I can't wait to watch this game. Obviously, it is the game of the weekend. These two teams are absolute juggernauts. I think the Eagles win. I think the Eagles can score. I think the Eagles can put up big plays at any time they want. Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in this matchup by far. I think the Eagles win 27-20 at home against the 49ers. And I think it's a really tight game, back and forth game. Jalen Hurts gets a chance late in the game to go and break the tie, 20-20, and he does it with a touchdown drive. I love the Eagles at home as underdogs. Here's what I'll say. Here's how the 49ers win. The 49ers win with long, sustained drives. The 49ers will win with 12-play, 65-plus yard drives that eat up a bunch of clock, that force the Eagles to throw the ball and get away from the run game. If the Eagles can keep the offense on the field, Niners don't have a chance. I just don't think the Niners, with the big playability against an Eagles defense that can get after the passer, it's not a good recipe for the Niners. Love the Eagles at home. It is my official upset of the week. I get the best team in football plus money. All day I'm taking it. All day I'm with the Eagles. You should be too. Eagles over the Niners, 27-20 in what will be one of the great games of the season. And I can't wait to watch the matchup of the NFC Championship game rematch. All right, Sunday Night Football, Chiefs at the Packers, Chiefs -6. And it is my lock of the week. I'm taking the Chiefs to win this game in fairly comfortable blowout fashion. This game is in Green Bay. This is Pat Mahomes in primetime. Travis Kelce. The rumors are, according to my co-host on Kick FM, Sam Barnes, who is tied into this as a true Swiftie herself, the rumors are Taylor Swift has been in Kansas City and will be at this game Sunday night. Chiefs by a billion. Chiefs by a billion. I think the Chiefs win this game pretty easily. The Packers have been playing well, right? They beat the Chargers, upset Chargers at home. Then they go and they beat up the Lions on Thanksgiving. I think both of those wins have an asterisk by them. The Chargers are garbage. They're overrated. They shouldn't have been favored in that game anyways. And then the Packers beat the Lions. That's just what they do. And the Lions back into the defense is not good. Chiefs defense is for real. They can get after Jordan Love. They can make him uncomfortable. In prime time, I don't think Jordan Love's going to handle the lights well. And I think Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Rashid Rice and that run game, Isaiah Pacheco, it'll travel. I love the Chiefs. I think they put up points. I think they win 30-17. Pretty comfortable, easy victory over Jordan Love. I think they make Jordan Love look silly on Sunday night. Love the Chiefs. Blowout win. Easy win. They put up points in the second half. They keep pace with the Dolphins, the Ravens, and everyone else for that one seed in the AFC. Chiefs are my lock of the week. So my official lock of the week, Kansas City -6, and the Eagles +3. Finally, Monday Night Football, Bengals-Jaguars, a game that should have been an epic, beautiful game, is now just going to become the Trevor Lawrence show. This is where Trevor Lawrence, I think, really puts on his I should be the MVP of the league type of performance. I think he's going to easily get this Jaguars team to 9-3 at home. 3 touchdown passes, no turnovers, runs, maybe even a touchdown in as well. I think you see Trevor Lawrence stat pad pretty easily on Monday night. Take care of business. Don't overthink it too much. Jaguars win and they cover. Jaguars 33. Jaguars 33, Bengals 20. They take care of the Bengals. And Jamar Chase makes a play. I think it's interesting, maybe early, but Trevor Lawrence puts the cape on and it solidifies why he should absolutely be in the MVP consideration this late in the year. So I'll take the Jaguars to win. So there you go. That is my official picks for Week 13 in the NFL season. We're late in the season. We've got a ton of great games. The NFL schedule, the way they've reworked it, where you get a lot of divisional matchups late in the season. Even though we have a bunch of teams like my Bears that are pathetic, there are some really important games coming down to the stretch. And with that 7th seed of the wild card, a lot of teams still alive. Coming on up, we're going to talk a little college football on Saturday. And we'll talk some teams in the bye week, some big teams with bye weeks in the NFL this weekend. And kind of predict, like we did last week, what could their schedules be like? Could the 9-3 Ravens end up only being an 11-win team? We'll talk about that coming up later in the show. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai.
Imagine a disease that affects more than 10 million Americans. More than AIDS, Parkinson's, ALS, MS, and muscular dystrophy combined. Yet few know its name. Some years ago, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And after surgery, she developed lymphedema, LE, a cruel and chronic disease affecting 10 million Americans that occurs when the lymphatic system is compromised, leaving one with a lifetime of severe swelling and pain. What we found out later is its severity might have been lessened or possibly even prevented if only we were better informed. That's why I'm urging anyone facing cancer treatment to get educated. Talk to your doctor. Make it part of your cancer conversation. And if you have LE, share your story. With patients and doctors working together, we can learn and live. Learn more at lymphaticnetwork.org.
Glenn Beck. If you're a conservative, the threat of deplatforming is always there. I'm not going to have a sword over my head. The show is always available on Blaze TV. Companies like Apple and Google and Meta can shut down your speech, our speech, literally with a keystroke. Catch me on the Glenn Beck program weekdays from 11 till 2 on 1070 KHMO, the news, talk, and sports leader.
If you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.
For my community.
For everyone here. We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies us. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
Here's your weatherology forecast from the News Talk 1070 KHMO Weather Center. Cloudy skies today with daytime highs approaching 43. Southeasterly winds around 5 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected tonight. Scattered rain showers likely, 37. High of 45 tomorrow. Right now, 36.
Welcome back to On the Mark here, News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. You got to ask about that no fear lifetime powertrain warranty on new and used vehicles. Tell them Mark sent you. All right, we got to turn our focus here a little bit to college football. Want to focus on the games coming up today here on this Saturday, December 2nd. And what we have in front of us today is the possibility for chaos, right? We have the possibility for absolute chaos to where the committee is going to be put in a bind to figure out what the top 4 seeds are. Now, I think things will work itself out with Texas winning, Georgia winning, Michigan winning, and that'll take care of it. I think FSU gets booted unless they completely blow out number 14 Louisville and their quarterback looks amazing, in which that case I think that they would take the spot away from Texas. And then you would have, obviously, the Pac-12 winner. I think it's going to be the Big 12 winner, Texas, Georgia, and Michigan. But what can happen here? What can happen if Bama beats Georgia? We have a real dilemma in our hands. How then do you keep out Georgia, a two-time defending national champion, that will have lost its first game in 2 straight years from the college football playoff. I don't think you do. I think if that's the way it works out, you look at the schedule and you say to yourself, Michigan wins, they're in. The winner of Bama, Georgia is in. So let's say it's Bama. So Bama gets in. I think then you'd have to include Texas because Texas beat Bama. And then Georgia gets in as well as the seed. Now, what the seeding is, I don't know. I really don't know. I think you would put, if that case scenario, I think you would put Michigan 1. I'd put Bama 2, Georgia 3, make them rematch each other again for the right to a national championship, right? Okay? Neutral site again. Georgia, Bama 2-3, Michigan versus Texas in the 1-4. And then you'd probably have Michigan versus the winner of Georgia, Bama as your national title. And I think that would pretty much solve it. And that would box out the Pac-12 winner. It would box out FSU. But I think that is the chaos scenario. And even if that's the chaos scenario, I don't think any of us would really mind because I think you can all agree that the Pac-12 winner would have a right to be a little frustrated, but they'd be the only ones that have a real leg to stand up being frustrated why they weren't included. Florida State not getting included, they understand why they're not going to get included. You lose your star quarterback, you're just not at the same level as the elite programs. You're just not. And I've seen the argument about people saying, well, we needed to go to the 12-team playoff this year, right? Because you need to give Ohio State a second chance, and all these other teams have been a perfect year for it. The only thing that I really think the 12-team playoff is going to cause frustration for me, I'm already predicting it. You see a lot of those like fake, this is what the 12-team playoff would look like if it happened this year. The thing that really bugs me is you get a team like a Penn State. Penn State lost to Michigan and lost to Ohio State. Why should they have a second chance to beat those teams again? You know what I mean? Why should we give Penn State a second chance to beat those teams when they lost to Michigan at home, when they already lost to Ohio State? And do we really need the 12 team? I was comfortable with the 8. They went to 12. But that's what the 12-team playoff is going to give us. It's going to give us a lot of, great stories like Mizzou. No one wants to play Mizzou right now. Mizzou might be a top 4 team in the country. But the 2 early losses in the program, they put themselves in a tough spot. You're going to get a lot of cool stories like that. Like Mizzou could upset some people that people don't want to play Mizzou. But you're also going to get a lot of Penn State gets in as a 2-loss team. And we got to watch them struggle again against the Michigan Ohio State. We already seen them beat them. So I know a lot of people are already clamoring, the 12-team playoff would solve it all this year. Yeah, it would help out. It would solve the fact that is it really fair that Ohio State had to go on the road, lose 1 game, and they're out, their season's done? No, maybe not. You want to see them get a chance. But we are going to get on the flip side of that a lot of bad football, a lot of 2-loss Penn State that doesn't really deserve to be in to have a chance to win a national title are going to get a chance. I personally believe you're going to see the Pac-12 winner. You're going to see Texas take care of Oklahoma State. They're in. And then I think you're going to see Georgia take care of Bama. They're in. Michigan take care of Iowa. They're in. And I think FSU is either going to lose or struggle against Louisville, and that'll take care of itself. And then I think you'll have Michigan 1, you'll have Georgia 1, Michigan 2. You'll have the Pac-12 winner 3 and Texas 4. And Texas will have a chance to really prove itself against Georgia. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO and KHMO app. When we come back, we wrap up the show with some bye-week NFL team talk.
1070 KHMO.
And welcome on back to On the Mark here in News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. Brought to you by the great people over at Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number 1 Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. You got to ask them about that lifetime no-fear warranty on the new and used vehicles. Stop by the dealership this weekend. They got some big new start-of-the-month sales, as you're kicking off December. Start off the holidays, in a new ride. Nothing wrong with that. If you're looking to trade in a vehicle, they have a great, great selection of new and used vehicles. Tell them Mark sent you. ShopCunis.com as well. You just go online, ShopCunis.com. All right, starting to wrap up the show, and I want to do it here with a look at the teams on a bye week. Bills, Ravens, Vikings, Bears, Raiders, Giants on a bye week. All teams in various places in the NFL. You have the 1 seed of the Ravens. You have teams like the Bears and the Giants who are really, really struggling. And I want to take a look at their remaining schedules. Each one of these teams has 5 games left, right? 5 games left post-bye. And to kind of give you an idea of where they could be and just how much football is left for each one of these teams. Let's start with the Bills. They're 6-6, right? Everyone's writing off the Bills. They're dead. No chance for them to make the playoffs. They have at Kansas City post-bye, and then Dallas, Chargers, New England, Miami. Well, that Chargers and New England game now look like they feel like wins, right? So let's give that to it. They get to 8 wins. You got to get to 10 wins in the AFC if you definitely want to lock up a playoff spot. You're telling me then the Bills have to win 2 of 3 versus KC, Dallas, and Miami. I think it's very possible they do that, especially that final game of the year, Miami. As we talked about last week, I think they're already going to lock the 1 seed up. And Miami could be resting starters when they're playing that game at Miami at the end of the year. Miami could be content with letting the Bills in the playoffs. So I think that is a very winnable game. I think the game at home versus Dallas in the cold is a very winnable game for Josh Allen and the Bills. The Bills aren't out of it yet. If they can shock the world and beat Kansas City next week post-bye, they are very alive. They then just have to win 3 of 4, and that includes the Chargers, New England. I think the Bills are very, very alive. Don't count them out yet. They could be a 10-win team and find their way into the playoffs. Ravens, everyone's talking about the 1 seed. I really, truly believe the Ravens will get by and the Ravens will win their division, but I don't think they're going to be the 1 seed. They have a really tough 5-game schedule down the stretch. They come out of the bye and they're home versus the Rams. That's a very winnable game for them. Let's say they get to 10 wins there. So they're in the playoffs. Then you have Jags, Niners, Miami. Yo, that's a murderer's row. And unlike that Miami game for the end of the year for Miami, where they could be resting starters against the Bills, Miami could be fighting for the 1 seed. This could be the determining factor for Miami to get the 1 seed. So that's going to be a brawl of a game between Miami and the Ravens. I think the Ravens struggle at the Jacksonville Jaguars, hot in Jacksonville in December. I think that could be a loss. I think they struggle on the road cross country at the Niners. That could be a loss. I think they struggle versus Miami at home. That could very well be a loss. I think they take care of Pittsburgh. They take care of the Rams. This is a Ravens team that everyone's talking about could be the number 1 overall seed. It's very plausible the Ravens end up as an 11-win team. As an 11-win team, even though they're 9-3 right now. So I think they probably are more like a 12-win team, but I think this Ravens team, if you're already penciling them or sharpening them in for the 1 seed in the AFC, just because they're a 9-win team with 5 games to go, not so fast. Tough schedule down the stretch for the Baltimore Ravens. All right, let's look at the other AFC team here before we click over to the NFC, the Raiders. Raiders 5-7. They played well post-coaching change. I think they should absolutely hire Antonio Pierce. And the Raiders are a team that absolutely could find their way to maybe 9 wins and being very viable in the playoffs here. They have post-bye, they get the Vikings at home. That's a very winnable game. Then they're versus the Chargers at home. Very winnable game. The Raiders could be 7-7 within a 3-game stretch of Kansas City, Indy, and Denver. Do I think they probably end up losing to Kansas City? I don't think they're as good as Denver right now. At the end of the year, Denver, I think, could be playing for something more, and Indy's been scrappy. So I think the Raiders end up probably as a 9-10 loss team. But the Raiders are going to be hanging around. Don't totally write the Raiders off yet. I think they should just hire Antonio Pierce. I think he's got the program heading in a really solid direction. He's got a very Mike Vrabel vibe. And that's what the Raiders need right now. They need an adult in the room like a Mike Vrabel to just steady everything. And then they need to go out and get an elite quarterback. Find themselves their future franchise quarterback. Trade up with the Bears, that number 1 pick. Go get Caleb Williams. The Raiders, 5-7, could end up being a 7 or 8 win team, especially upset alerts for wins against the Vikings, Chargers, and certainly could steal one of the last 3 against Kansas City, Indy, and Denver. All right, let's look on the NFC side. The Vikings, they're 6-6. They were the darling team 2 weeks ago after Josh Dobbs came out and, win a game after not knowing anyone's name. And that was a really cool storyline. But I think you're going to see the Vikings really struggle here down the stretch. At the Raiders, I think they struggle to win that game. At Cincy, it's on the road. It's going to be competitive. I think they probably could win that game. They're 7-7. And then Detroit, Green Bay, Detroit. Yikes. I don't like them as much as I like Detroit or Green Bay right now. I think they go 0-3 down the stretch and end up as a 7-10 team. It'd be better off if you're the Vikings right now, rooting for them to lose out and end up as a 6-11 team and improve their draft stock. Because I just don't think they're making the playoffs with that stretch down. I think they go 0-3 down the stretch. They're not making the playoffs. So if you are a Vikings fan, I think you root for them to lose out from here on out. I think that loss Monday night against the Bears was a telling way for you to say, this team ain't making the playoffs. Let's lose out. Let's improve our draft stock. As a 6-win team, you could end up with a top 10 pick. Meanwhile, the Giants, 4-8. What do the Giants have to look forward to? Well, they get Green Bay post-bye. I think that's a loss. I think Green Bay is playing better football than them. They're at New Orleans. I think that's a loss. Again, I think that's New Orleans still fighting and staying relevant for the playoffs. They're at Philly. That's a loss. They're home against the Rams. I think that's a loss. And then they're home against Philly to end the season. I think that's a loss. I think this Giants team has won their final game of the year. I think they end the game the season on a 5-game losing streak. I think this is a 4-13 squad, improves their draft pick, and they end up with a top 5 draft pick. And I think that's a smart thing for them to do as a franchise overall. Finally, my Chicago Bears. Post-bye against Detroit at home. I think it's a winnable game. They almost beat Detroit 2 weeks ago, and now they're at home. I think it's a very winnable game. You then get at the Browns, a team that will probably be starting Joe Flacco. It's a winnable game for the Chicago Bears. Home against Arizona, home against Atlanta, and then at Green Bay. Chicago Bears are not done winning games. Do I think they win out? No. But I think there's a path for them to win out, which is crazy. I know it's crazy, and end up 9-8. But I think this is a team that very well can end up 8-9, 7-10. And by the end of the year, you look at it and saying, hey, there's a lot to build on. If you find a new head coach and the right person to kind of get this group together, it's a talented group that just underachieved with a coaching staff that just doesn't know how to put it all together to get them over the hump. I think there's a lot to like about this Bears team. I mean, very winnable games. Browns, Cardinals, Atlanta, Green Bay, and Detroit. Very, very winnable schedule for the Chicago Bears down the stretch. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. When we come back, that's it. We're wrapped up the show. There's no more coming back. Enjoy your football. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mark Hespin. Follow the YouTube at Mark Hespin, and we'll see you next week.